going on, everybody? So tonight, the episode that they have been building up for 8 motherfucking seasons finally aired, and that is Game of Thrones Season 3, and this was the Great War. Finally happened. You know, the war with the dead finally happened. We finally got to see all out chaos. And boy, was it an episode. There are going to be spoilers in this review, like always with my Game of Thrones reviews. If you're new to the channel, then here's your warning. Yeah, so if you haven't watched this week's episode and you don't want spoilers, then click away, because it's about to get real spoiler real fast. But yeah, let's just dive right in. So this episode, you know, like I said, they've been building this up since really the very beginning when we saw the dead for the first time, the Night King. So you have this, and like we see all the people, you know, lining up, getting into their positions. Then we get to see you know, Jon and Daenerys, you know, out on the cliff, and Dany's like, you know, the dead are already here, because he was like, the Night King's coming. She's like, the dead are already here, even though we can't see them, because this takes place at night. There's no lighting where the dead are, and you know, they start fighting. This episode, you know, has a lot going on, like with all the different people and fighting, and like it shows everyone, just about everyone really, and I loved it. I really did love this episode. It's everything I wanted it to be, especially the ending. I thought was perfect. But not a lot of people, like, not as many people as I thought died in this episode, like, main people. Like, I thought Jaime was gonna die, and maybe Brienne, and, probably Tormund, but I was wrong. And I'm kind of glad I was wrong, but at the same time, I was wrong, and I don't like being wrong. But, you know, that just means that they get to go forward in the war with Cersei, which I think is going to be interesting to see Jaime on their side fighting his own sister, who he loves. So I'm glad that they kind of kept him around. But yeah, you know, this episode we got to see all of these people fighting, and there was a lot of death. Like, the dead outnumbered them easily, even with the Unsullied, even with the Dothraki, even with all the Northern men. All of them, they still outnumbered these fuckers. You know, the Dothraki really got taken out in the very first scene. The first people to go up against them, they all get taken out. You know, they keep saying that the Dothraki, the way that they fight, you know, Jaime was terrified of how they fought, because they don't fight normal, and like, they're ruthless. But, you know, when everyone saw them, like, get taken out from the very get-go against the dead, when they all charged with their flaming swords that Melisandre, you know, gave them, it was just like, holy shit. Like, I knew the dead was capable of this, like, but I didn't think, like, the whole fucking Dothraki army that Daenerys brought over was gonna get wiped out that quick. Like, it literally happened in an instant. Maybe I saw a couple people run back, but that's really it. Out of all those Dothraki people, only a couple of them, you know, ran back. Then you have the Unsullied, which, you know, the Unsullied held their ground. Everyone held their ground until they couldn't, and then the Unsullied basically, you know, sacrificed themselves. How it looked like to me, they sacrificed themselves, you know, to let everyone retreat back. So that just, you know, that just shows how you know, the Unsullied really are, in the way that they fight. And like, I loved like seeing Grey Worm's faces that he made, like when he had to, you know, lead them there. He fell back because he's the leader, but like, he like closed the bridge and you know, to the trench so they could light it on fire. Just the way that, you know, you could see all that emotion in his face, you know, because he did not want to, you know, see this. Like, they finally met their match, like an army that he really thought they were going to lose to. And because, you know, their whole purpose is, you know, we grew up, we trained, we learned how to fight. We're not supposed to be, you know, beaten at all. But you could see it in his face from the very beginning. As soon as he saw what they were truly up against, like, you could see it. And I love that, because you've never seen that, you know, his facial expression like that before. So that was, you know, I thought that the actor did a really good job about, you know, doing, because he never really, you know, talks. So it's, just a lot of facial expressions, and I think that he does a great job with that. I've never really talked about it in previous reviews because it's never been crucial in those episodes, but in this episode it truly is noticeable. Then you have John and Danny on dragons, flying around, taking out the dead from the skies, and then they eventually come across the Night King on his dragon, and boy was that a scene to have to see, because I want to say John's dragon went down. They knocked the Night King off because John was going up against him. Then Danny came in and knocked him off. The Night King's dragon still lived, but John and his dragon went down. But I'm not sure if his dragon is actually dead. They never we saw him go down, it scraped on the chest, but is he dead? If he is, let me know down in the comments, because I don't know if he is or not. I guess we'll find out next week's episode. I'm not really going to talk about all the fighting because I'm going to be here forever if I am. All the action sequences were well shot. All the people, the choreography, all of it was just, outstanding. And, this is probably the most CGI that's been in an episode. And actually, this probably, has the most people out of any episode in this show. And, it's just, when you see all the dead piling up, because it reminded me of World War Z on the way that they did to climb the wall and stuff like that. You really just get the sense of these people are not going to live. The dead are going to win. I mean, and I knew that they were going to get inside the wall, and a lot of people died. Lady Mormont, the way that she went out, I actually really loved the way that she went out. She got knocked back by the troll that knocked down the front gate to Winterfell, and then he picked her up and she stabbed him in the eye. I really did like the way that she went out. Then you have Theon protecting Bran, which actually skip that. I'm not gonna get to that yet because that's the ending. I thought that was a great and really fucking intense scene. But I do have a problem with something that happened in that, but first I want to go to the crypt. I actually had this theory, and I know it was flying around the internet, but I never saw it on the internet until I came up with it and I started researching it. So about the Starks being raised from the dead while the people were down there, and we actually got to see that happen. I was right. Granted, we didn't see Ned or Catherine or Robb come back as one of the dead, the White Walkers, but down there, to me it looked like that Sansa and Tyrion are actually, they love each other, which I think is very, interesting, because they made, he was like, maybe we should have just stayed married, and she's like, well, you were the nicest one out of all of them, the best one. And it also makes sense because Tyrion's always had her back when Joffrey, was making that one night douchebag strip off all her clothes in front of everyone. Tyrion stopped it, and he's always had her back, and I truly do think that they have feelings for each other, and I want to say technically they're still married, so that will be interesting, moving forward. I want to talk about that, but that all happened down the crypts, and Tyrion and Sansa was ready to fight the dead, which then we got to see Dany fight when she got knocked off, went off her dragon to save Jon because when Jon got knocked off his dragon, he was running after the Night King. The Night King raised all these people that had fallen on the battlegrounds, and they start attacking Jon. Then Dany comes in and saves her, and then they all the dead from behind jump on Drogo, and she gets knocked off. So then Jorah comes and saves her. But we finally got to see Dany pick up a weapon and fight next to Jorah, and I really did like that scene. I really did, even though Jorah ended up dying. He was not one. I mean, I thought that he might, but I also thought that maybe he was more crucial to the story to come. Um, but he gave his life for Dany, which I knew that's how he was always going to go out. And we got to see him like take a shit ton of stabs, and I mean a shit ton, to protect her. And that man, he went out a hero. He really did. And I am curious to see, how Jon reacts to him, being close to his father. I think that, Jon's going to say that his father would be proud of his own son. Really, the Mormonts are kind of wiped out, I want to say, because Lady Mormont died, and so does the Jorah. So, yeah, that happened. But we did get to see, Dany actually fight, White Walkers, and I thought that was a really interesting, great scene, because she's never picked up a weapon, to my knowledge. And yeah, then we have Arya, which I love Arya, I really do. And like the way that she was sneaking about, well, first her and that weapon that Robert's bastard made. I'm still slipping on his name. I always have it in my head before I start recording, and then I start recording, and it's just like, straight out. She was kicking those White Walkers fucking asses with that weapon, and she was just badass. And then she gets knocked on the head, she loses her weapon, and she has to run. I really love the scenes with her being vulnerable, in the castle, not giving up, but having to sneak around, like, struggling, sneaking around, and then the Hound comes and finds her, and then Melisandre sees her, and, like, I had honestly forgot that in Season 3, Melisandre and Arya met, and Melisandre told Arya, made a prophecy that, she was going to, she saw a lot of death in her eyes, and that, she was going to take a lot of lives, many different colored eyes, brown, green, blue. And as soon as I remembered her saying blue, I was like, Arya is going to be the one to take out the Night King. And that gets us to the ending with Theon. Theon was there protecting Bran, and Jon was trying to get to Bran as fast as he could, but he got stopped by the dead dragon, which I honestly wanted the dragon to burn Jon, because I was like, are we about to see if Jon is, actually fireproof like Dany, like all Targaryens are supposed to be. So I am very curious if, he actually is. I don't think he is, because he's like half Targaryen, half Stark, and most Targaryens are full-blood Targaryens, so I am curious to see how that, is, but I really did think we were going to get to see it this episode. But then, Theon and Bran had a nice little scene. Theon kicked a shit ton of White Walkers' asses to protect Bran, and then they had a nice scene, moment that, Bran, before all this, Theon apologized to Bran for that. He was sorry, and Bran was like, if you didn't do what you did, then you wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be the man that you are. Same thing that, basically he told Jaime. Wasn't it Jaime? Yeah, it was Jaime. Basically the same thing that he told Jaime, like, that one moment, everything that you did led you to where you are today. Pushed me out that window, led you to, the honorable man, betraying your sister, all of that, it led you here. That one moment, paved the road for you and to where you are today. Same thing that he told Theon, and I love that. But, the one thing I didn't get was why Theon charged the Night King like he did. Theon, sadly, died, but I like the way that he went out. He went out protecting Bran, to the best of his abilities. He tried taking out the Night King. Granted, he was never going to succeed, but he at least tried. But I don't understand why he charged the Night King like he did, because I thought that was kind of stupid. He should, stood his ground and let the Night King come to him. At least it would be better, but, that's the way that they, took it. And I like, I'm glad that he went out, being brave and, being himself and protecting his family. And yeah, I mean, I really do think that Theon has had one of the most, challenging journeys to be where he is from the very beginning, being sold off to the Starks, be raised by the Starks, being, growing up with the Starks, but never being a true Stark, but being part of the family. And then, learning, keep hearing that blood is thicker than anything. And then when, he went back to his family, his actual blood family, he had betrayed the Starks, his actual family. And, it's just always been the mental, torture of, having to decide between the two families. And I've always loved, I didn't necessarily love it when he was betraying the Starks because, he was betraying the nicest people ever. And he was being a dick, but at the same time, going back and looking at his journey as a whole, you really get to see where he was mentally and, the struggles that he has always struggled with, trying to find what house he is truly a part of, and he's a part of both of them. And that that came to light in season 7 when, Jon said, "You're both a Greyjoy and a Stark. I forgive you for what you did." And then, his sister, basically knew that he wanted to go fight with the Starks, and she let him because she knows that he is a Greyjoy and a Stark. And so does Sansa, and so does Bran. That's why Bran said, "You're a good man. No matter what you did, you are still a good and honorable man," basically. But I don't know why he charged the Night King. I'm curious if he actually saw Arya, Bran and him saw Arya coming, or if Bran told him that Arya was gonna come and do what she did, and she needed a distraction to let the Night King be distracted and whatnot. But after that, Night King came towards Bran, and then Arya jumped out from somewhere, wherever she was, with Dragonglass. And I think the key thing between, her giving the Valyrian Steel dagger to Sansa is because I don't think Valyrian Steel will kill the Night King. I think it has to be Dragonglass since that's the way he was made. So, she's the one that killed the Night King, then basically every single all the dead are wiped out. So, where we go from here, next week's episode, I think is going to be a lot of filler. I think we're finally going, it's going to finally come to a head. Jon and Dany are going to have the discussion about, him being a Targaryen. I think everyone else is going to find out about him being a Targaryen. We can get to see who's alive, how many forces they have, because they're not out of the woods yet with it being peaceful, because they still have to go deal with Cersei. I think Bronn is going to show up in next week's episode. I think he's going to see all the dead bodies and see what they fought. And he's either going to see Jaime or Tyrion. I think he's going to see Tyrion first and be like, "How the fuck did your short ass survive all this?" Or he's going to see, Jaime and be like, how'd the one-armed man, or, how the fuck did the one-armed man survive all this? He's going to say something smart like that, I have a feeling. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. But we have 3 more episodes left in this season as a whole. The final season of Game of Thrones, 3 more episodes. I am very curious to see where they go from here, how it's going to end. I still think a lot of people are not going to make it to the end. But then again, I thought a lot more people was going to die in this episode. But really, a lot of people died, but I'm talking about main characters. Only 2 main characters, and then Lady Mormont died. Unless someone else died that they just didn't see. Oh, and Melisandre. And how the fuck I forgot, but the knight with the eye patch that was loyal to Ned, he died protecting Arya, which was the reason why he kept being brought back, because he promised Ned that he would watch out for Arya. And so that promise, let the Lord keep bringing him back and everything. And then Melisandre, I think that we finally learned what the Lord Light's purpose is, and I think it was to, wipe out the dead in the long night. I really do. So with that, Melisandre got to take off that enchanted necklace and die and just fade into the wind, and Ser Davos is the only one that saw it. So that's going to be interesting, him talking about that. But I think just because the Lord of the Lights, whole reasoning is done. We still don't know about Bran's god or what the fuck the three-eyed raven truly is. We don't know about the many-faced gods or death. And then you have the water god that, the Greyjoys worship. There's still a lot of questions to be answered. I can go on and on about speculating about what's going to happen, who's going to live, how this is going to end, but I'm at 20 minutes now, and I'm just going to wrap this review up because it's been, kind of a long review, but a lot happened in this week's episode, and I feel like I needed to talk about it. But yeah, fucking fantastic episode this week. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. You can't already tell just by the way I've talked about it. I thought that this was everything that the Great War needed to be. I'm glad they did it in one episode and we didn't have to wait. Like, I really did think that once the Night King made it into the space with Bran, I thought they were going to cut off right there and be like, next week on Game of Thrones, because that's something that they would have done, but I would have been pissed if they did. I'm glad they wrapped it up in one episode. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Really did love this episode. Comment down below and let me know, if your fan theories panned out. Did you expect so many people, main characters, to live? Did you expect more to live? If so, who'd you expect to die? And who'd you expect to live? How do you think this series is gonna wrap up? Who you think is gonna end up on the Iron Throne? Did you think that the Night King was gonna win the whole, his whole plan? Let me know all that down in the comments. Also, check back every Sunday night for my review of the Game of Thrones episode that aired until it ends. Also, go check out my Avengers non-spoiler review of Endgame. It's not the best review. It's a good review, but it's not real. I just talk about basic stuff because there's a lot that happens in that movie, and I can't really talk about, spoiler-wise. I can't give any spoilers for it. So go check that one out if you want to hear my basic thoughts on the movie. Also, I've been promoting Days Gone. Me live streaming and doing unboxing of the collector's edition. Best Buy fucked up my order, and I don't have it yet. They're shipping it to my house. They were supposed to ship it to the store, but they never got my copy in the store, and the closest one was like 80 miles away from me, so I wasn't about to drive 80 miles, so they're going to ship it to me, to my house. So, yeah, I am sorry about that. If you'd like me to live stream it still, let me know down in the comments. I do think it's going to be a fun time. But if not, I am thinking about getting World War Z and just live streaming that with some friends instead of Days Gone. Let me know which one y'all would prefer to see. But yeah, guys, in the description I have links to my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page for the channel. You click on over there for updates on personal life, things I'm working on, things I'm thinking about doing. Just, little notifications about my own life and, what's going on in it and how the future content that is to come about this for this channel. Also, I made a Reddit. I don't exactly know how to use Reddit, so if you do know, give me some tips down in the comments. But I'll have a link to it anyways in the description. And yeah, guys, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button because it really does help me out. Also, share with all your friends, family, everyone that you know, and any people that you don't know. And hit that subscribe button for more awesome content like this. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.